right, here we are. We just saw.
This is happening.
We just saw.
You know, the beginning of this review is as abrupt as the ending of this movie.
Oh, spoiler alert! We just saw Hobbit, the Desolation of Smaug. This
of the audience.
This is Dewey Fartweasel Nelson.
This is Richie Dart Measle Pepio.
Sean Snake Whistle Eastridge.
And we are Wild Stallions! We just saw the Desolation of Smaug, and it is now 3 a.m.
The correct pronunciation is Smaug. Were you not paying attention during the 3 hours?
No, I wasn't.
When I was a kid, I thought Smaug. That's funny because it's smoky like a dragon.
Yeah. I don't know.
But now
dragon.
it's British like a Smaug.
Just like Grandpa used to smoke.
Delicious,
You know what?
delicious hot Smaugs around the fire.
Nothing like a stick of Smaug in the evening.
A Smaug a day keeps the doctor away.
keeps the Legolas away.
So-
Keeps Toriel away.
So let's talk a bit about what we thought about The Hobbit.
Well,
Part
first-
2 of 3.
First
How
off,
many pages did this 3-hour movie actually represent?
A
from the
chapter
book?
an hour. We're traveling at a chapter per hour. So we're going way below the speed limit, but
A chapter
way below the read limit.
yes.
It's a chapter per hour plus 15 extraneous chapters that did not exist in the book.
That
So
is
why
true.
not? Put them in
I
there.
loved the screensaver, the Mordor screensaver of the necromancer just flashing in and out.
Well, yeah, we did go through. It's like we were playing Portal and Lord of the Rings at the same time. I did. You know what? I liked it more than the first one.
Me too.
The first one we also watched today, and it
Unfortunately.
it reminded me how much I love Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
But this,
That's the best part about. Oh no, go ahead. I'm done. It's 3 in the morning, by the way.
we have spent the last 6 hours watching Hobbit movies, and we'll spend.
That's something no one should ever have to say about The Hobbit.
It should take shorter to get to Middle Earth, but we're still not there yet.
We shouldn't have to say it took us 9 hours to watch a complete Hobbit movie. That just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's not that long of an adaptation. What is this? Gods and Generals? Yeah, so I liked it more in the first one because there's less just aimless walking and battle sequences that sort of bore you to death. And there are more dragons in this one. So I like that.
A lot of dragons, a lot of
of dragons. I was really surprised because I was expecting to not be into the Legolas sequences because it just felt like it was fan
It
service.
felt arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like, remember this?
But
remember
it was,
the
it
things
was actually
you like?
pretty fun. It was good to see a familiar face and from a better movie. To say, hey, remember
Long gone
me?
age of Middle Earth.
You know, he looks a little older, even though his character's younger.
older?
But who doesn't look
little
older? Colder and shoulder.
and Mulder from the X-Files.
I wish he had shown up.
Yeah, that would have been good.
David Duchovny as the elf pimp.
See it in part 4.
I agree. I thought this was better than the first one. It still had. I still felt as I was watching it that I could pick and choose the scenes that I liked and put together a much more enjoyable shorter movie. Once again, the best stuff in this movie was the stuff that was in the book itself.
Yes.
The stuff that didn't work as well was the stuff that wasn't in the book. Legolas was cool, and his she bitch, Toriel or Ariel,
she really does.
Areola?
Areola. She was
Areola.
Aurora Borealis. She was great.
Borealis to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm
don't know.
saying.
An extra serving of lembas bread to get through tonight.
But it was kind of fun. I thought they tried to force a love triangle between her and Legolas and a dwarf that
We've all wanted to see that.
Yeah, and you know what? Lord of the Rings gave us Have a Dad Legolas, and this movie gave us Legolas Has a Dad. So we learned a bit there, too, about the family dynamic of the Mirkwood elves.
I think Orlando Bloom looks older than the person who plays
Lee
his
Pace?
dad.
Yeah.
Look, if you're the king of Mirkwood, you're going to be
Yeah,
hoarding all those.
You're gonna get all the good eyeshadow for yourself.
Oh, the pale skin foundation ran out. Fuck.
I liked the spiders.
The spiders
That was a cool.
The
That was
spider who loved me.
it was pretty cool. I think the barrel sequence was probably the best part of the movie.
So much
That
fun.
was fun.
It was great. It was fun. It was very lively, which is more than I can say about the whole first Hobbit movie.
Absolutely.
But it was, the sequences were too far and too few between. There was way too much of them just.
They'd find one place and then they'd just like cram as many different what could we possible things could we do with a barrel or a slanty sea town and then let's just shove it all in there and
shove it in that slanty seat.
And a lot of it's fun and a lot of it, and I feel like on its own each sequence and moment really works. Sometimes though it would feel like, oh wow, you're throwing everything
really
and
pushing
the
this.
kitchen sink
Yeah,
in there,
you're really
and it
pushing this.
seems like it's a lot.
Yeah,
but it's fun. A
Yeah,
lot of it's fun.
It really wasn't as bad as the first one. I really, really think someday someone should cut together all 3 Hobbit movies into a single film.
Phantom edit.
It'll be. I think that will be great.
The necro edit.
I will also say though, and this is something that other people have brought up, but it's a movie called The Hobbit. The story is about Bilbo Baggins. And they're trying. I mean, obviously, they're trying to compete with Lord of the Rings, even though they shouldn't be. But they're trying. They're trying to add like a whole. Like it feels like Bilbo Baggins is getting lost in the
world
attempt. Yeah, the attempt to make an epic story that doesn't exist in this. I mean, The Hobbit is not a big epic story. It's a fun story. It's an adventure story. It's a going outside and experiencing the world story.
It's just not as epic. It takes away from the power of Lord of the Rings when you're trying to redo all the work that the Fellowship of the Ring does.
Yeah. I really wish they would just focus on adapting The Hobbit instead of trying to make a prequel to Lord of the Rings. But this is kind of what we're stuck with. And it's unfortunate because I think Lord of the Rings are the prime examples of what to do with an adaptation of a beloved classic book. And the Hobbit movies are kind of the exact opposite. Without being really terrible, they're kind of like, this is what happens when you are like really, really pushing the limits of what you should be doing with a limited text.
Right.
So it's disappointing because I really they've got some good talent. They've got the talent behind the camera and in front of the camera, and I feel like every moment screams we are making this choice financially. We don't care about telling the story. We're going to stretch it out as much as we can to make as much money as possible.
And even if that wasn't the case, it looks that way anyway.
Yeah.
It felt like the first movie, if the first movie was an airplane, it struggled to get off the runway. And now this movie, it finally took off, and it's rising through the air, and then all of a sudden it's like they shut off the power right at the end. They shut it off. So are we going to crash? Who knows? We got a year to see.
Without ruining anything, the film ends really abruptly. Not in a cool cliffhanger. It ends kind of on a cliffhanger, but almost like a commercial break cliffhanger, where there's one more commercial break, then you have another 5 minutes of your TV show before the actual teaser that will get you excited for the next episode. This ends before that. They
shot JR, and now you're spending the rest of the year wondering who.
Yeah.
Who is
It's like you should have just given the masseuse an extra $5 for the happy ending. Really,
it's kind of like if the Two Towers had ended with at the very end, Aragorn and everyone rides out into the Uruk-hai, thinking they're sacrificing themselves. If the movie had ended there, that's kind of what the Desolation of Smaug feels like. It's not very satisfying, and it's very clear that they're just trying to save as much as they can for the third movie. And, I miss the days when Peter Jackson made movies that
were complete.
That were satisfying storytelling instead of cash machines.
Yeah.
So,
all in all, I think we should give it a rating, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. And
I'm
dish
gonna
out the
give it. I'm
Arkenstones.
gonna give it 3 Arkenstones.
Oh my gosh.
You got.
I was gonna give it
let's
3
just-
Arkenstones.
Really?
I was
Is
gonna
it
give it.
serious?
I already
the
had
third review where we will
All
all
agree.
agree.
This is terrible.
We are
We spared
best
no
friends.
We are.
All right, but go ahead, Richie. You go ahead.
I give it 3 Arkenstones because I still think it was very enjoyable. It just the ending, it loses a stone for the ending.
I lost a stone.
And look, we all passed stones throughout this movie, and then it loses a big stone for just it's still struggling a bit from the syndrome the first movie had, where it was just kind
just
of
the trilogy
lost
syndrome.
trying to make a movie out of a ton of different ideas that were just thrown at a board.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense, but it makes sense.
No, yeah. I will also give it 3 Arkenstones because I mean, it really picked up the pace and elevated itself from the first movie, and it was much more fun and much more enjoyable, even though it still seemed segmented, which, drops it a stone. And it does, I think it drops a whole stone. I mean, I dropped 2 stones because of the segmentation and the ending, unfortunately. I wish it had an ending. And I thought as soon as the ending happened, as soon as that happened, I thought, oh, wow, here comes the ending. This is going to be great. And by the time that it actually did end, I was already just dropping stones. And so I can't wait. I want to see the third Hobbit movie and get a complete ending and see what they do with that. Hopefully they'll elevate it even more. But they have my interest. I will be back in theaters next winter to see the next Hobbit movie.
There and back again. I will also give it 3 Arkenstones. I feel like all these movies are basically going to be 3-star movies that are struggling to either be better than that or just end up being worse than that. But I agree, the ending was so abrupt and so unsatisfying that it costs it some points. It had some really good stuff. I was not a big fan of the first Hobbit movie. It was very slow and very boring and dull. And this one, at the very least, does have a lot of fun sequences. I felt like I was actually watching a movie, and the people who made the movie were having fun with the sequences they were doing. But it still feels like, I mean, we have this story that's very simplistic, these characters that don't have a lot of depth. The characters just aren't that interesting, and even in the book, they're just kind of, they're there. And Bilbo is kind of, he's the head honcho, but in this he's shoved aside for these very dull plots about, like, reclaiming the mountain and getting the gold and the people in Lake Town and all this other stuff that I feel like if we just focused on, the Hobbit in a movie about the Hobbit, maybe that could be a little bit better. But, another big plus for Smaug, because that was great. That was a great effect.
Yeah.
And Benedict Cumberbatch, that says it all. But, yeah, I'll give it 3, and I enjoyed it more than I didn't enjoy it, but I definitely... I'm a bit disappointed that this is kind of the Hobbit movies. I wish I could say it's the Hobbit movie, but this is the movies of the Hobbit that we're going to end up with, and it makes me kind of sad that there wasn't a more respectful adaptation. But I guess we could go watch the animated one, because I'm sure that's great.
It's wonderful. Go check it out. All right. Well, I think that was been a lovely review. So it's still 3 a.m. and we still want to be dead.
Yep.
So thank you for listening to us, and we love you all.
Kiss you.
We're gonna kiss you.
Bye, kisses.
Bye, kisses.
Kiss, kiss, kiss.